Welcome back to another episode of Legally Vegas. My name is Jacqueline Bretell, and I am your host. This podcast is sponsored by my firm, Bighorn Law. We are sitting here in Las Vegas, Nevada, and when people think of Las Vegas, sure, they think of casinos and gambling, maybe quick weddings, and also legalized brothels. I'm here today with a very special guest, a friend of mine, Arlette Newvine, and Arlette is based in Pahrump, Nevada. So today I'm going to take you about 1 hour west of Las Vegas to Nye County, Nevada. We're going to talk about all things wine scandals, legalized brothels, and what it's like to practice in small town Nevada. Welcome to the podcast, Arlette.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here today. Tell us about you are a trial lawyer. Tell us how you're in Pahrump. Tell us about your practice.
Yeah, so I started off doing family law. I did that exclusively for about 6 years. And after I really kind of mastered that craft and my staff really became really amazing at it, and we kind of gained our reputation in that space, I started to, have the desire to challenge myself. And I was watching the NJA, silently from my office, the Nevada Justice Association. And I decided that I wanted in the PI world. And in my practice, it's always organically grown based upon need in Pahrump. And I didn't graduate law school like, oh, I'm going to be a family lawyer. That's not like an aspiration of mine, or it wasn't at the time. But when I moved back to Pahrump, I learned that there was a huge need for it. And I really thought to myself, like, I would be good at this. And people in Pahrump need somebody who cares. And I was that person for them, and still have been in the family law space for a long time. And so I kind of dovetailed that into my personal injury practice, and
the rest is history.
Yeah.
So how long has Newvine Law been in operation now?
9 years this year.
And has it always been in Pahrump?
Yes.
All right. So tell me, how do you end up in Pahrump, Nevada?
Yeah, so I was born in Las Vegas in the early 90s. I have 3 older brothers. My parents are from Las Vegas. My dad is a 3rd-generation craps dealer on the Las Vegas Strip. When I was born, my family decided that they wanted to get out of the city and move to the dirt. They say that they didn't want us to be cement kids. They wanted us to be dirt kids.
Which makes sense. I grew up very similarly, like in a small town. So you moved to Pahrump in, was it the early 90s then?
93, 94, yeah.
And so how many people live in Pahrump in 1993, 1994? What was it like then?
I don't know the population back then. Now it's about 50,000 people. Back then, everybody knew everyone. Every time you went to the store, you knew everybody. And once I left for college, I started coming back for visits and started going to the store and realizing, like, wow, this place is really growing. There's tons of people there that I don't know. And it was just really interesting to see that big gap.
We were reminiscing a little bit before we got started that you and I both grew up in small towns without even a Walmart.
Yeah.
It sounds like you got a Walmart in Pahrump in your junior year of high school. We got a Walmart in the adjacent town my junior year of high school. And we both used to hang out at the Walmart because that was all there was to do.
And I hope my Pahrump friends watch this because we played hide and seek in Pahrump, like in the Walmart in Pahrump.
Absolutely.
It was like our entertainment. But hey, at least we weren't doing drugs. So
that's true. When I was growing up, I grew up in like this small town in Tennessee called Mount Juliet. When I moved, it was about 12,000 people. And the only thing that we had was a Waffle House. So I always joke, like, we used to sneak out and go to the Waffle House, which is like the dumbest thing you can do because you're literally surrounded by glass. And I don't know how we didn't get arrested. And I know my parents are going to be watching this, so yeah, that's what we did. So, where'd you go to law school?
In San Diego, Thomas Jefferson School of Law.
So you finished law school in San Diego. Did you always know you were going to come back to Nevada?
You know what? I graduated high school at 17 years old, and I ran out of Pahrump like a bat out of hell. I was, never moving back. I knew I'd come back to visit. My family lives there, but I was that small town girl headed for the city. I did my undergrad at the University of Laverne, which is like East LA. And then moved down to San Diego for law school. And I was totally on track with this firm I was clerking for in law school, living downtown on 8th and J in this like little studio apartment. I had a Murphy bed. It was like,
I love this.
Probably one of the best times of my life, other than like my family, my children who I love. But in my single life, in my younger life, it was amazing. But I woke up one day right at the start of my second semester of my 3L year. Like I said, I was on track, to work at the firm that I was clerking for. And I just woke up and just clear as day knew that I wanted to go home. It was really strange, honestly. I believe maybe it was because of that that dirt feel. I was missing the rural life, my family, my mom, my dad, my brothers. And I called my mom that day and I was like, I think I'm going to move back. My mom, of course, cries and she's so happy. And yeah, I did. I moved back and
The rest
zero
is history.
regrets. Love raising my kids there. It's beautiful.
You and I have so much in common that I'm actually learning about here for the first time. So I told you about that small town in Tennessee that I grew up in. I graduated when I was 17 as well. And there was absolutely nothing you could do to keep me there. I took off. I moved to Chattanooga, Tennessee, which was about 2 hours away. And then from there, I went to law school in Georgia, which was 6.5 hours away. And, when I was in law school, the market crashed my first year of law school. That was the fall of '08. And so there were no real jobs. And so my plan was to move back home after law school, to move back to Mount Juliet, Tennessee, because I joked like I had nothing else to do. And then at the last minute, there was this on-campus interview for this job in Vegas. And I ended up applying to it and I got the job and came to Vegas. I'd never been to Vegas before. And I've been out here ever since. And I sometimes wonder, because my plan was the same as yours. I was just going to go back home. My parents said that they would support me and I would just hang a shingle in Mount Juliet, Tennessee and see where life went. But obviously that's not the trajectory that my life led to. And by the way, same as you, I said, I'll never go back.
Yeah.
I actually sit on a board of a nonprofit with a bunch of guys I went to high school with. So I'm even going back in 2 weeks for this annual golf tournament that we have every year. I'm still very, connected to that community. And I think there's something about like small town charm. You still go back.
Yes.
Right. You say it when you're young.
Your heart is still over there. And it's just,
absolutely.
I agree.
So I have a couple Pahrump. When I think of Pahrump, I think of a couple things. I know that the drive out there from Vegas, it's about an hour. And I always heard it described as the hump to Pahrump, right? You go over this huge hill. I do know it's huge because I think probably I could count on one hand the number of times I've been to Pahrump in a car. But I can count on probably more than two hands and my 2 feet how many times I've been on my motorcycle.
Oh, yeah.
It is a big hump because it's cold at the top of that hill. I don't know what the elevation is, but it's pretty chilly.
Do you stop at the bar at the top?
I don't. I've never been to that bar, but I know that that's very popular.
Yeah.
No, so I always would like joke that like I am like not a great motorcycle rider as is. I don't need to like add alcohol to that. I should probably just stay sober. So
there is a Mexican restaurant up there, Maria's Taco Shop. They also have a location in Pahrump. Very good.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yes.
That was going to be one of my questions later is where should we eat in Pahrump? So but going out to Pahrump, I spent a lot of time at the Spring Mountain Speedway, which is the country club with the racetrack out there for track experience, which is the motorcycle track experience. And then I've spent lots of motorcycle rides out there. And probably my very favorite Pahrump story, and I don't know if you know where I'm going to go with this, but back in, I think it was 2015, I need to check on that exactly, but there was an election that drew a lot of headlines. So it's no secret that Pahrump is very conservative and the people of Pahrump are very conservative. If you look at like the voter registration numbers, the registered Republicans far outpace the registered Democrats. And during that election, there was a very famous brothel owner named Dennis Hoff who ran for state assembly. And he won the Republican nomination. He was on the ballot for the general. And I think so. Would this have been 2014? I can't remember exactly what year it was.
It must be somewhere in that neighborhood. I know where you're going with this.
Yeah. So this is one of my favorite stories about Pahrump. So Dennis Hoff is on the ballot for the Republican seat or the Republican nominee for this assembly election. There's a Democrat that won the nomination as well. So it goes all the way to the general election and Dennis Hoff dies. He passes away, unfortunately, before the general election took place. And the good people of Nye County and the good people of Pahrump still voted for Dennis Hoff over his Democratic opponent. And so I always thought like, wow, that's one hell of a place if they are like, they will vote for a dead brothel owner over a Democrat in Pahrump, Nevada. And that's probably one of my favorite stories about Pahrump and just the, they're set in their ways. And I appreciate that about them. They're very confident. And I always thought that was pretty funny.
I like to think of it as being sort of territorial,
Okay,
I think Dennis Hoff had that, that mindset that he wanted to keep it the way it was. And the majority of the people that live in Pahrump want to keep it the way it is. And the reality is that, with the fires in California, we had a lot of transplants move over because it's cheaper than coming to Vegas. A lot of the younger crowd in Vegas are outpriced in housing. And so they are relocating out to Pahrump. Pahrump is developing new track houses on the south end, right over the hump to Pahrump. And so a lot of the OG Pahrumpians, yes, I said it, they take that territorial mindset. And I think that Dennis Hoff really stood on that platform. And I remember that.
Yeah. And I can see that there's, I have friends as well that are considering moving. Some of them are practicing lawyers, although they won't compete with you, don't worry, that are considering moving out to Pahrump just because the cost of living is now so expensive in Las Vegas. And so I can see that it would be rapidly changing in this desire always, right, to stay to your roots. And so you had shared with me some fun facts about Pahrump. I mean, I did not realize that Pahrump did not get electricity until the 1960s. Is that true?
That's right. Yes.
And a phone line not until the 1970s.
And it was one phone line. So, all the real OG Pahrumpians have all the stories about, you'd pick up the phone and someone would be on. So then you'd wait. And then...
I can't even wrap my head around that.
I think that it was, Pahrump was really an agricultural ranching, small town because we are on top of an aquifer. Pahrump means water rock, so or water under rock. Yeah. And from there, it developed into, obviously the town it is now. So, the electricity was late, the phone lines were late, Walmart was late. We do have a Starbucks now, so it's really starting to.
You're making it now.
We are, yeah.
You practice in Las Vegas sometimes too, right?
Not necessarily. I did early on in my career, and I started to realize to juggle both calendars was going to be really difficult. And so I really, my family law practice is only in Nye County.
Okay. What would you say that you feel like are the differences for those that are listening between practicing law in Las Vegas versus in Pahrump?
I was thinking about this question, and I really think it comes down to the fact that we have 2 district court judges. And because we're rural, they hear everything under the sun, business, civil, criminal, probate. They hear it all. And of course, I practice family law in the 5th Judicial District Court. And neither one of the judges practice family law. And whereas in Vegas, they have specialty courts and they have family law judges. And so when you go into a family law courtroom in Vegas, you kind of have some expectation. And when you go out in Pahrump, the judges really have broad discretion in a lot of the topics in family law. And they do a very good job. It's just a little bit of what you might consider the Wild West. It's because they have broad discretion, you're kind of appealing more towards their likes and dislikes. Whereas the arguments in Clark County might have been a little different. And so I think if you have a legal issue in Pahrump, it can be very advantageous to clients to hire somebody out there. But that can be hard because, there's really only truly 6 local attorneys. I'm the only one from there. And I'm the youngest. I'm the only woman out there doing family law. And I bring a sense of a scrappiness and an underdog kind of fight. And my clients really appreciate that. And so I think that that's really important in the Nye County court system versus, hiring maybe we might consider an outsider.
like a Vegas lawyer. Totally different.
Yeah.
So if you're litigating a case in Nye County, probably best to have one of the local attorneys. Otherwise, you're going to get what we call hometowned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and there's no written local rules. So in Clark County, you have local rules. You can go online, find what their local rules are, what are their preferences and different things. Out in the 5th, there are no local rules. And in the last almost 10 years that I've been practicing out there, I've come to know the unwritten local rules. And so a lot of times I'll get calls from, Vegas lawyers like, hey, what are the tendencies here? How does this work? What's this? And I love to be that person. I love it so much.
The Nye County subject matter expert.
Yes, bring it on. Let's go.
So with a town that's now 50,000 people, only 6 lawyers, I can imagine, are you running into your clients then at Walmart, at the grocery store, at Starbucks?
Thank God for Uber Eats and grocery delivery. Yeah. I actually had a funny story about that. I stopped really going to Walmart because who doesn't love Walmart delivery? Right. And I had our groceries delivered one day, and the lady knocks on the door, and my husband goes to get the groceries, and she says, "Oh, is Arlette home?" And Jason, my husband, he's like, yeah. And she's like, oh, let me say hi. Is she here? And so I'm like probably in my pajamas or something, you know, and I'm peeking around the corner and I'm like, oh my God, who is this going to be? And thankfully it was someone that I knew and loved. And I had this epiphany after she had left. I was like, Jason, we need to like go under an alias for all of these deliveries. Like that could be anybody, somebody that I've gone against, my current client, like that scared me a little bit. Yeah. So we're under an alias. I won't say.
You won't share it.
I won't share it. No, it's top secret.
You have to change it all over again. So and then, even your Walmart deliveries are to your alias. Yes. Good.
One of the times I went to Walmart, an opposing party in a very contentious divorce case that lasted 2 years, which was far too long. He was walking laps around Walmart and I knew he could see me, and every once in a while I would see him, and I'm like, what the hell is this guy doing? You know, and I'm like kind of scared, you know, what's going on? And I didn't, leave. I get to court a couple weeks later, and judge brings it up to him and says, do you walk laps in Walmart? And he said, yeah, the flooring's really good for the arches on my feet, and there's really no other place to walk with like AC. And I was like thinking to myself, oh, thank God he wasn't just like stalking me. He's just literally like the Walmart walker. I don't know.
I wonder if the judge saw him in there too.
She did. She did. And she commented on it. Yeah. I'm like, I wonder if he still shows up there because I don't go to Walmart really anymore.
That has got to be really challenging. I never even thought of that when it's the opposing, especially you're right, on those family law cases. They're so contentious. Sorry to interrupt this episode of Legally Vegas, but it's really important that I share with you that my brilliant law partner, Kimball Jones, has been named the 2026 Nevada Justice Association Trial Lawyer of the Year. That's right, guys. Bighorn Law is home to Nevada's Trial Lawyer of the Year. I'm so proud of my partner, Kimball. We practice in the field of personal injury. We handle everything from car accidents, slip and fall, trip and fall, medical malpractice, and most importantly, insurance bad faith cases. Please call us at 702-333-1111. If we can't help you, we're going to help you find somebody that can. Now, back to the show. Let's talk about brothels.
All right.
So, as you know, I mean, my firm, we've represented sex workers for a very long time. Arguably, I think my entire career, minus like the first 2 years that I did insurance defense, which I don't think count anyway. But almost my entire career is all, we have been representing sex workers at Bighorn Law. And this is an area that I'm very passionate about. I think that Nevada is so unique when it comes to our perspective and our feelings on the sex industry. And so, as you know, I know you know that brothels are not legal in Clark County, but they are legal in Nye County. How close are you? Like, where do you live in conjunction with a brothel? Are you close by to one? Without giving away your alias location. So.
I'd say the closest brothel's probably 15, 20 minutes away. Yeah.
And you grew up this way.
Yeah.
So it's very, I mean, it probably doesn't even faze you at this point.
No, not really. I was telling you a joke earlier that when we were in high school and had nothing else to do, there were some sand dunes, or they're probably still there behind the brothels, that were kind of like a little like cove. And so we used to go back there and like just have a lot of very innocent fun. And so we would see it, you know, they're not in the middle of town. You have to go down a very long stretch of road, and then there's no houses for a while, and then there's the chicken ranch, and then there's Sherry's ranch. And so we would drive out there at night as, you know, in high school and go hang out back there. But as adults, it's just another thing. And, you know, a lot of the sex workers don't actually live in Pahrump. Like, come on, who wants to, you know, besides me, wants to live in Pahrump. A lot of them come in for their shifts. So. Yeah.
And I think it's interesting because I think a lot of people don't realize, one, that it's not legal in Clark County. It's also not legal in Washoe County, which is where Reno is. And I'll kind of look at to why that's the case. But you're right. Like, a lot of the sex workers that come in and they work these shifts at the brothels, they don't live in these rural counties. In fact, like outside of Nye County and a lot of these rural counties, there's not a lot of people that live there in general. But a lot of times in my experience and some of the work that I've done, they come in from out of town. So, and I've had a lot of teachers. I know that sounds crazy, but a lot of teachers that come in, and then maybe would work on the weekends. If you're ever on a flight into Vegas on a Thursday night or Friday night, you kind of know who's coming in town to work for the weekend if you pay attention. So you're right. They don't live here. These are just regular people that are coming in to try and supplement their income, especially as everything gets so expensive. I thought we could dig in. I mean, for everybody who's listening, I think that this topic, right, legalized sex work in Nevada makes Nevada really unique. And I thought we could dig in a little bit about the history of legalized prostitution and legalized sex work in Nevada, if you're up for it.
Yes, of course.
I did some research. I pulled some like fun facts about it. So Nevada never legalized prostitution formally. It evolved from a largely tolerated practice into the highly regulated system that it is today. So for those of you guys that don't know, Nevada was really a mining state. So in the 1850s and 1860s, there was this huge mining boom. So you have all these men moving to the state of Nevada. And of course, there's really like 3 professions that women can be at that time. They can be teachers, so they're going to follow in if there's a family so that they can teach the kids. They were housewives, which, yes, is a profession. Or finally, they were in the brothel industry. Lots of madams that are up and coming around that time. And there's a whole organized network of this legalized, well, I guess it wasn't illegal, but this underground kind of prostitution in the 1850s and 1860s. So in the early 1900s, there's this red light district era. So many states start to outlaw brothels, but Nevada chooses not to do so. They're just, they're going to kind of ignore it during that time. World War II really changed things. Federal officials pressured states near military bases, which of course Nevada has, to eliminate prostitution because of concerns about sexually transmitted infections among service members. Many brothels closed. But after the war, enforcement again becomes inconsistent. And then we get to my guy, Joe Conforte, which I think is how you say his name. In the late 1960s, he operated the Mustang Ranch near Reno. Instead of hiding the business, he lobbied for legalization. And his quote was, "Prostitution already exists. It's safer to regulate it than to pretend it doesn't exist." So then in 1971, Nevada passed legislation that says that counties could license and regulate brothels if they want. However, counties above a certain population threshold could not allow brothels. And that was NRS 244.345, which says that any county with a population above 700,000 people cannot have a brothel. And so that's why originally Clark County, no brothels, and then eventually Washoe County, as it continues to grow, no brothels there either. So that takes us up to current time. What do you know, if anything, because we didn't actually talk about this in advance, but what do you know, if anything, about how regulated they are? What is because I know it's a very regulated industry, but this is in your backyard, quite literally. What do you know about that?
So as you stated, the counties get to regulate it. And so the licensing board and the regulatory board for Nye County includes the Nye County Board of County Commissioners and the sheriff, actually. And so we have county ordinances, I think it's 515, that outline all of the different regulations and things that the sex workers, or I believe they call themselves courtesans.
I don't know.
Yeah, courtesans. Yeah. The regulations and licensing and everything that they need to follow. They have to get physicals once a week. They're examined and have STD testing once a week. They have obviously rooms about the cleanliness or rules about the cleanliness of their rooms, their bathtubs, and their bodies and things. And so, yeah, the Board of County Commissioners govern them basically, along with the sheriff, which I think is definitely like Wild West, right? Like the sheriff gets to have a say in like what goes on out there. So.
It's so fascinating to me, and I know that this is always going to be controversial, especially like where I grew up in the South. This is of course going to be very controversial for them, but I think that regulating it, we know it's going to happen no matter what. And so I think that regulating the industry and creating a place where women are safe, I think is really important. And there's all these different schools of thought on sex work. I know that there are big movements to decrim, which is completely different than legalized prostitution, but to decriminalize so that if you are picked up, you're not charged with a crime. I think that having access to these types of legal avenues is really important. Otherwise, we all know the history of like the back pages and how dangerous that was for women. And so I've always been a big fan of the fact that we have this opportunity for women to go and have a safe place where it is regulated. There are rules in place. And I do think it creates a structure where it's just generally safer for them. But I know it's controversial. I joke about my guy, Joe Conforte, because I've done a couple videos on this and I've spoken about him at conferences, but he wrote this book called Breaks, Brains, and Balls. And it's been this mantra I've lived by. The book, and I know we're gonna edit this. I always say it's a shit book. So the part that's bleeped out, just picture the poop emoji. That's what I'm talking about. So it's a shit book. So I never recommend that people go and read it. I actually picked it up in a small bookstore in Virginia City, Nevada, and it was signed by Mr. Conforte, who I think has since passed away. But I read it, and he said that in order to be successful in life, that you had to have three things. You had to have breaks, meaning a little bit of luck. You had to have brains, and you had to have balls. And I always joke, well, okay. But anyway, my brother and I, we joke that when we have like a business idea and we're going to pursue it, we always call it like a triple B experience. And so I've always, that's stuck with me. I read it really early on in my career, and I think that it's true. I think that you have to have breaks. I think you have to have brains, and I think you have to have balls, which I interpret as just having the guts to go and do something, to not be so risk averse that you won't take a chance. And so that's why I joke that that's my guy, but I don't actually know him or anything else about him. So I know that today Nye County is home to several well-known brothels, and I think you referenced them. You said there's Sherry's Ranch. Did you say the Chicken Ranch?
Chicken Ranch.
That's what it's called? Mm-hmm. Okay. Any others that stand out in Nye County that you can think of?
In Amargosa, they have the Alien Cat House. So when you're on the 95, like headed to Reno, on the right-hand side, there's that Alien. I don't know if you've made that drive. It's very dangerous. I don't recommend it, the 95.
I've ridden it all the way to Tahoe. Is that what you were talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Like you can,
it's maybe like 45 minutes to an hour outside of Pahrump on the way to Reno. It's on the right-hand side. There's an Alien, like touristy store. Okay. Behind it is the cat house. Okay. And then there was the Love Ranch, which was Dennis Hoff's, but that went under, I think, in 2018 is when that went under.
Okay. Now, do you think that there's ever, do you think there's any chance this law gets amended and we somehow have legalized prostitution in Clark County?
I guess it would depend on who's in charge, I guess.
Yeah, even our legislature, I don't envision it happening. I think that there's going to be a lot of pushback. I do wish that there would be more by way of the decrim and the way that sex workers are treated overall, because I think we can create safer environments for them. So as much as I would like for that law to be rescinded, we'll see. Yeah. I'm not super optimistic. I think even the good people of Clark County are also a little set in their ways and territorial, and they're not going to change anything either. Yeah. So,
and speaking of like protecting the girls and having things in place for them, last December, Sherry's Ranch was trying to get the girls to sign basically an independent contractor agreement that basically was signing over power of attorney to Sherry's Ranch, was taking over all the rights to their intellectual property or like their name, image, and likeness. And a lot of these workers are doing other things. They don't just do this. Like you said, either teachers or maybe they're authors or artists, or of course monetizing on social media. Yeah. And I believe there was one or two ladies who stepped up against it and tried to organize and form a union. And when that happened, Sherry's Ranch terminated them.
Of course.
And of course, right. And I think about, they're already in an area where it's so dangerous for them. And now their employer, who should be protecting them, are just taking predatory steps to, take away their rights, their money. And I think it's absolutely insane. And I hope those girls take it the whole length and they can get what they're after. So they're attempting to form I believe it was the United Brothels.
Yeah, United Brothel Workers Local 9413.
Yes,
does that sound right?
Thank you. Yep.
It's really interesting. Our firm has a long history of fighting on behalf of sex workers, in particular dancers. And we for years argued that they were miscategorized by the clubs, that they were labeled as independent contractors, but they were really being treated as employees. And so really what that comes down to is a control test. How much control does the employer have over them? So in the case of these women who are working at the brothels, does the brothel control like how many hours they're required to be there? What are they required to wear? Are they allowed to leave during their shift? All of those types of things I think really go to the amount of control that's over them. And so that's interesting. We've not handled any of the wage and hour, the classification disputes when it comes to brothels, but I'm curious if that's something that we're going to see come out more and more. I'm guessing that they have dedicated shifts that they're supposed to be there. And so I can't imagine that they're going to get away with being classified as an independent contractor under Nevada law.
We'll see.
Yeah. All right. Okay. We're going to transition.
Okay.
I heard there's a wine scandal brewing in Pahrump. So for those of you that have never been to Pahrump, one of the main things that people always think of in Vegas or know about Pahrump, or if they've ever been to Pahrump for some reason other than like riding motorcycles, it's because there are a couple wineries in Pahrump, and they tend to draw tourists because I don't believe that we have any wineries here in Vegas. I don't think anything like that exists here. And so I always hear about the wineries in Pahrump. I will confess to you, Arlette, that I am not a wine person. I don't know much about it. I don't drink it. But I do know other people that are very into it and that they have gone to the winery, and I've heard it's actually really nice, but I heard there's a scandal brewing. So why don't you tell us about what's going on?
Well, the scandal brewed. So a couple of different things. There was the Pahrump Valley Winery, which closed a couple of years ago because of its parent company filed for bankruptcy, and they closed down, which was devastating because it was a really beautiful place to eat. The wine was great and just had a great view. They've recently reopened as Charleston Peak Winery. I haven't been out there yet, but I hear it's really good. And then the scandal that we're referring to is more so in regards to Sanders Family Winery. And I believe it was in 2023, the sheriff's department got a tip that there was, false deceptive practices happening at Sanders Family Winery i.e., they were dumping box wine into their own bottles, mislabeling it,
like Franzia. Franzia, like the space bag we used to drink in college.
Yes,
okay.
Okay. And as much as I want to think it was like some wine connoisseur sitting at the table drinking it and like calling it out as box wine, I believe it was an employee who had given the tip to the sheriff's department. And so they came out, did their investigation. They found all the boxes of wine and other bottles in the dumpster, and so they were immediately closed down. They went before the BOCC. And Jack Sanders did go up and basically just owned up to it and apologized. He's like, tough times. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. And part of me was like, it was a good play, right? And what else are you going to do at that point? So
it got him a lot of press.
Yeah. Well, they're still closed. So
is there any chance? So did the health department close them down? Is that what happened?
I think they just lost their local licensures, like their local licensing. I'm sure there was some additional stuff, but I don't know exactly.
So I heard that, I guess he cited there's water shortage, right? Which I'm sure was impacting his grape growth or something. I'm not sure. And impacting his ability to make the wine. Kind of hilarious because I think about my brother-in-law is a sommelier, and I do wonder if he were to go out there, if he would have known. Spencer, I'm joking. I know you would have known. I would never have known.
No.
In fact, like when we were in college, I take it all back. We did drink a lot of wine in college.
Yeah.
We would buy the box of Franzia. We would take it out of the box and we would put the bag in our purse.
Yeah.
Because in the early 2000s, we had these huge purses. So we would go to parties, a group of girls, and then we would just open the purse, and like everyone would stick their cup out, and we would all just pour that way.
Oh, not just straight into the mouth?
Well, of course we did that too, but
trying to be a little classy,
we have to be a little classy, yeah. So germs and all that. So we drink a lot of box wine. I actually thought the White Zin, the Franzia's White Zin, was really good, but that just goes to show that I am not a wine person. I have no business. So if I were out there, I would never have known. I know my brother-in-law would have snipped that out right away. Yeah. That is so fascinating to me. How long did he do this for? Do we know?
I don't know. Poor guy. Imagine. I have some sympathy for him, but at the end of the day, don't, defraud people.
At least go buy nice wine. And
right.
Put that there. I have read though that like even people who are like wine enthusiasts agree like the Franzia is not that bad.
Oh,
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not.
Maybe
really,
I just made that up, but.
Yes.
Yeah. You're not. Are you a wine person?
No, not really. Here and there, but yeah.
Okay. So we don't know if Jack Sanders winery is ever going to reopen.
We don't know.
Bummer. So,
and they have a beautiful property too. They were hosting weddings there. But
does he still get to do that?
I don't believe so. I think it's all just closed.
Such a bummer. All over a boxed wine scandal. Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully, so the other wineries open, which was Pahrump Valley Winery and now is Charleston Peak.
Yeah.
Is so I was going to ask, like, if anybody's going to Pahrump, what else is really good to eat in Pahrump?
I would say Stockman Steakhouse is really the next
Where
best.
Is that?
It's in the Golden Nugget.
Okay. I think I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the best Nevada road trip you've ever been on?
You know what? We just went to South Tahoe. for the
drive up
gala.
there?
We did.
Ah.
And if that counts, which it should, right?
I think it totally counts.
That was an amazing trip. Obviously, I'm terrified of the 95. It's so many
Yeah.
accidents. And it's funny as a PI lawyer and on the roads where you've had clients who've been seriously injured and friends who've been killed on the road. It's terrifying, especially when my husband's passing people and I'm just like, oh.
Yeah.
But so that was really beautiful up there. And then other than that, we really like going to like Nelson's Landing.
Tell people what Nelson's Landing is.
You can cliff jump into the Colorado River.
But isn't it like a ghost town? Like it's an old abandoned ghost town?
You pass through an old abandoned ghost town. Yeah, you can pull over and like take pictures with
isn't there like a plane or something? Like you can take pictures. It's kind of creepy, but kind of cool.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I didn't know you could also jump off things in Nelson's Landing.
Oh,
is that what you said?
There's massive cliffs you jump off into the river.
Okay. Yeah. I've never done that. These are all places. So when I would go and check all this stuff out, I'm always on my motorcycle. So I'm going and I'm, we're like taking pictures and then different
from
experience.
That town, maybe another 20 minutes or about, and then you kind of have to see this like side road.
Okay.
And then you walk a little bit and you're on these cliffs and you can jump in and crawl out and jump in and crawl out.
That's amazing. Yeah. Okay. So we already talked about your favorite place to eat in Pahrump, best Nevada road trip. What's the most underrated place in Nevada?
Pahrump.
Okay. You know what? I believe it.
My friends told me not to tell everybody, I posted on Facebook.
Don't tell anybody about Pahrump.
Yeah. I posted on Facebook yesterday, like, what should I talk about? And everyone was like, don't tell anyone we're here.
Don't tell anybody to move here.
Yeah, don't tell anybody.
It's all terrible. Don't move here. I get it.
Yeah.
That's it. I think Las Vegans are very, I think they often forget that there's anywhere else in Nevada that exists. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and we make lots of jokes about Reno on this podcast where we're like, Reno, okay, I guess we can talk about that. They're part of Nevada, I guess. But what is one thing that every Las Vegas resident should know about rural Nevada?
We like it the way it is.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Don't change anything.
We like it the way it is. A lot of people come and have big ideas and my business will benefit either way. And so I don't really take a sort of political stance on it because it is sort of a political topic in Pahrump.
The idea of changing things?
Yes.
Ah, okay.
They're a lot of very opinionated people about the issue.
Okay.
And so, of course, as a business owner, I just stay right in the middle. But, the young girl in me that grew up there wants it to stay the same. The business owner in me and all my friends who are business owners, I want it to grow. And so, I'm happy either way.
Yeah. There's something, I think, charming about these towns, the parts of them that are so wholesome and that make you feel good and make you feel so grounded. I still, to this day, I like going back to where I grew up in Tennessee. Mount Juliet, which is the city I grew up in, is so crazy now. I mean, it's so big. We not only have a Walmart, we have, after I graduated from high school, they got liquor by the drink. So that was a big deal because if you think of like Applebee's, Chili's, none of them are going to move in unless you can sell liquor by the drink. So now they can sell liquor by the drink. We have all these restaurants. We have a mall. We have a movie theater. It was never like that when I was growing up. So I like to go one town over, which is, it's spelled like Lebanon, the country, but we say Lebanon. That'll never get into a caption. But it's Lebanon and it's so small. We have like a little town square. The shopping is small. The restaurants are all small. It's there's something so nostalgic about that when you are in that environment that you feel so grounded and just connected. Unlike Vegas where it's crazy all the time. 24/7 crazy.
My 7-year-old's been making a case to move to Vegas. Every day I hear
any
a
chance
reason why.
Your 7-year-old's winning that case?
Probably not.
Okay.
And if she grows up and moves to Vegas, I'll be ecstatic because then we'll be close. But recently we were on the 215 stuck in traffic and my daughter's in the back seat thinking I could see her, and she says, Mom, this would be a great place to work. There are so many cars here. I bet there's a bunch of accidents.
That's true.
I was like, I'm just in the front like, oh my gosh,
and
you're not
see
wrong.
us when it rains.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially exciting.
But of course, every time we come to Vegas, we have fun. We shop.
Yeah.
We go to the movies. We don't have a movie theater in Pahrump. We eat at nice restaurants and indoor playgrounds. We don't have an indoor playground in Pahrump. So every time they come here,
there's so much for them to do.
Mm-hmm. But we live on 2.5 acres. We have 3 dogs, a huge lawn. We have one neighbor. And, it's dark outside at night.
Do you guys have real grass?
Real grass, a huge,
I'm very jealous.
thing of real grass. Yes.
Yeah. That's a big deal.
Yeah, it is. And It's 10 degrees cooler in
It's
Pahrump.
huge. Yeah.
Yeah. And so she'll appreciate it one day. But, I was in her shoes and I
Yeah.
remember.
Wanting
And I
to
hope
get
she
out.
spreads her wings, but I do hope she comes back. So,
I think, maybe she'll do what you did. You spread your wings and then realize it's exactly where you belong.
Yep.
So if people want to follow you or learn more about you as our expert Pahrump lawyer, Nye County lawyer, where can they find you?
I have a website, newvinelaw.com, or Facebook is really a great place to connect with me. I run my Facebook. I answer my messages. And so if you ever just shoot me a message on Facebook, I'll respond. I'm on Instagram as well. Instagram is not as popular in Pahrump. We're 10 years behind everybody else. Or, look me up, email me, call me, and I'd be happy to chat.
What's your Instagram handle?
Newvine Law _
We follow you on Instagram.
Thank you.
Arlette, I also want to say congratulations. We've talked a lot on this podcast about how our partner, Kimball Jones, got named Trial Lawyer of the Year by the Nevada Justice Association. And we recently celebrated that at our gala of just a few days ago on Friday night. And you were also honored at that same gala as one of the Nevada Justice Association's rising stars. And I just want to say congratulations. It's been such a pleasure to have you on the podcast and to get to know you over the last several months. And you're just kicking ass. Like I'm so proud to watch your growth out in Pahrump and what you're building out there. I think that the people of Pahrump and Nye County are so lucky to have you.
Thank you.
And keep kicking ass out there.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Legally Vegas. I want to say a special thank you to our guest, Arlette Newvine, for joining us today. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to this podcast and give us a 5-star review. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.